Good morning, Patriots. It's June 22nd, 2023, and this is Fire in the Dark with your host, American Prometheus. Tonight we'll be discussing the disappearance of the Titan submersible vessel. An accident, or a stealthy attack from the Ragon? Coming up later, we have an interview with the Science Patrol whistleblower who recently made waves online for publishing the Jamila papers, and trust me folks, the stuff in there is quite alarming. But even more alarming is this leaked audio we recently obtained here at Fire in the Dark from the commie propaganda podcast Ultra Q. Folks, you won't believe what they decided to cut out from episode 15. Take a listen, I think it speaks for itself.
Monkey ball, finger curls sort of thing, where, all the stuff in the movie did just, it is just here.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get giant Fuji, okay?
I was sat here thinking, are we getting? Is there going to be? Is that what they're going to do? That would be really funny. It might not happen, but I am thinking it could. It could.
That
happen.
being said, I could see a world where Fuji's actress is like, well, fucking June and Ife gotta do a giant episode and fucking give me one. That seems like fun.
Yeah.
She deserves it.
Yeah.
But that being said, I have a feeling they won't do it.
Oh.
I hope they do, but
I've got my fingers crossed.
But you heard it here, folks. We're in favor of large women.
Yeah.
Well, when you word it like that, but
Well, yeah, when you word it like that, it's definitely true. Hello and welcome to Ultra Q episode 20. My name is Red. I am joined by Mel.
All-time guy is one of my favorite phrases.
Absolutely. And I am joined by Razan.
Mefilas kind of had cake.
Yeah, he got slimmed down for that movie. So right out of the gate, I'm just gonna tell you right now, we apologize slightly, a little bit. We don't care that much, but we apologize a little bit, because it was funny. We watched Shin Ultraman to start this whole thing. We are now running into the thing where we're gonna talk about Shin Ultraman. Of course, we're gonna talk about Shin Ultraman. We have to talk about Shin Ultraman. So if you haven't seen Shin Ultraman, I would watch Shin Ultraman at some point. Maybe watch the rest of Ultraman and then watch Shin Ultraman. I don't know. Figure it out. The point is, coming up, funny plant man. Hayata briefly manages to be cute, and the return of the all-time guy. But before that, I just wanted to say, so we talked last week about like open world games briefly, and open world games that aren't jam-packed, aren't like too big. Like, I believe, Razan, you talked about Spider-Man or something. You talked about how it was small enough. I played the Pathless, which is a really nice open world. It's like by the Abzu Journey people.
This was like the PS5 like launch type like game, right? I think
possibly, but it has a PS4 version that I played because I don't like the PS5 controller. And I played it with my PS4 controller. because that doesn't murder my hands. But the yeah, that's a really nice open world game with just nice traversal mechanics. You like shoot the talismans to give you boost, and you while you run, and you've got like a bird that lifts you into the air, and it's just really nice. Like these separate plateaus that you navigate, and there's a boss on each one that you have to take down, like kind of Shadow of the Colossus style. But you know, I don't mean like climbing. I mean like the framework. But I just think it's really good. The one flaw in the Pathless is that I can recognize the voice of Laura Bailey at 500 yards. So, so whenever this main character spoke in what I believe is a constructed language, I was like, that's not a hero, like a hero of her time. That's Laura Bailey. That's just a voice actor. That's a woman who plays too much D&D every Thursday. But yeah, I thought the Pathless was really good, and it was really pretty. It was a good video game. If you make a game move nice, you're 95% of the way to a good video game, and you have to really fuck up that last 5% to make a bad one. Yeah. The other thing is, I briefly want to say, I am annoyed that the Armored Core 6 gameplay turned into a culture war thing with factions, because I first of all, I don't really like the lock-on, and I want to be able to say that without aligning myself with losers. I'm not keen on it, but you know, it looks like a good game, but we'll see.
Reminds
don't
me of a
have much
tweet a
else.
friend of mine said where she was like, I hate when you dislike something, but like other people dislike it for the wrong reasons of you, and you don't want to be bunched into them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I had that for ages with. So my go-to example of that is like the second season of Psychopaths, which isn't good, but people hate it because of at the time they hated it because of the girl, her Akane's new partner, in season 2, and she's the best bit. She's the good bit of the show. Mika's great. Love a woman who's just the most evil person in the world. It's perfect. But yeah, you know, I'm gonna play the video game, but I'm slowing down on. I was planning on playing more Armored Core and maybe playing like the Xbox Armored Cores, but I'm gonna slow down because I'm like, you know, maybe I won't. The new one won't scratch my itch. I don't know yet, so we'll see.
Play Metal Wolf Chaos.
Yeah, that will definitely fit the vibe that I'm after. I love the President of the United States of America. I'm always saying this.
Playing that game when that remaster came out and just realizing like, oh, they took Armored Core and made it an arcade shooter was really fucking weird to me.
The other thing I did, and I believe Razan, you will also be talking about this. I'll let you start. I play because, you know, I have not played as many of either of these types of games as you.
Damn, I wish I had a PS5.
Yeah, I played the Final Fantasy XVI demo.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I fucking loved it a lot.
Oh, nice.
It won me over hard. I haven't really been keeping up with the pre-release stuff for this game. I've been doing that less and less with modern games just because I don't care as much as I used to. I'm gonna play the fucking thing anyways. I'll just like naturally discover how I feel about it. I'm not swarming over trailers or gameplay breakdown type things. I feel like I'm just over that period of my life. That is time I could use going through my massive backlog of games and shows and movies that I need and books that I need to attend to. So the only thing I've really been catching is just, this is Final Fantasy by way of Devil May Cry. They have the Devil May Cry 5 combat designer working directly on this game as a battle planner.
There's a stinger.
There is a stinger. You
There's
have enemy
enemy
step. There's a helm splitter. It's all in there. And also it is being helmed by Yoshi P, who is known for also doing Final Fantasy XIV, very beloved, like, king of the MMO genre at this point. And people like the story and his view of the world in that game a lot, and he is... There's a whole subsect of Final Fantasy now for people that is just like 14 and like Yoshi P's vision of it. In the same way that for many people Final Fantasy is Nomura and his stuff. So I saw that he was in charge of it. I'm barely through 14. I'm still working my way through A Realm Reborn, which is kind of the awkward base main story that even fans of the game say is kind of a slog and isn't exactly indicative of the later quality of the game. So
is the version of the game that they made after they killed the original game.
Yes, exactly. And I do not want to know how bad the base version is, because I have spoken with people that played the base version and are like, "Oh, A Realm Reborn is so much better," and I went, "Really?" Through gritted teeth.
There
Yikes.
is one Let's Play that I found on YouTube that I am very slowly working my way through because I'm curious. But yeah.
So Yoshi P had a lot of really fucking weird and also just outright bad statements in interviews going into this game, including like, "Hey, why aren't there any people of color?" And like very bad generic statements about like, "Oh, we need to make the fantasy world realistic by making it all super white," and bad shit like that.
And then Dragon's Dogma 2 trailer runs.
Yeah, honestly. And also someone, and I understand how this happens. I honestly, I do think that this is a type of quote that I feel like you'll get a lot, but someone asked like, "Hey, what's the story about? Like, what are the what's the political thing going for here?" And he gave the longest fucking essay response about how fighting bad and everyone has their own opinion and perspective, but maybe we have to all come together to understand fighting bad. Like, it was just a nonsense non-answer that didn't reveal anything.
You know who could fix Final Fantasy XVI's world? Kira Yamato.
Yeah, a little bit. So I had been excited by the stuff we had actually seen in the trailers that I had seen, like at the showcases and stuff, and what I knew this game was going for. Also, too, worth noting, Yoshi P is very heavily inspired by the works of Matsuno, who you may know from things like Tactics Ogre, Vagrant Story, like all the Evilly stuff, Final Fantasy XII, FFT. Major influence on Yoshi P's own vision of Final Fantasy and what he wants it to be. This game is also skewing more towards the classic fantasy, like high fantasy type of Final Fantasy, rather than the, I guess, more cyberpunk-y, little more science fiction side of things that the series has been trending towards as of late, I feel. Like, I mean, FF15 was basically modern, like a modern fantasy, urban fantasy style thing.
Yeah, and
with just having fully functioning
FF7 is the cyberpunk game.
FF7 is just cyberpunk, yeah. This is more towards the like medieval fantasy side of things. And some people are mad about that. I feel I said this on I did a stream through of the demo, which is just the early part. It's just the beginning part of the game, and then there's a later slice of gameplay that they kind of custom made specifically to show off what like later game combat looks like. And what I said during that stream is I don't really mind that it's medieval fantasy. I feel like part of the joy of Final Fantasy is that it is so versatile and what it can be. And I think, you know, I don't think that like griping over which specific flavor of whatever iteration it is honestly all that useful, because next time around it's probably going to be different again. And I think it's kind of cool that they can do that, honestly.
Yeah, also, it's not like FF7 Rebirth isn't coming out next year.
Yeah, like there is so much Final Fantasy out in the world, and there's many different hats that the series wears for sure. I will say the demo at the beginning kind of rubbed me the wrong way because there are a lot of AAA modern video game prestige isms in here.
Hold
where
R2 to open door dramatically.
Hold R2 to open door dramatically. No video game menu trusts you to hit the option anymore. For some reason, every fucking video game menu decision you make now, you have to hold X for like a second because we're afraid of commitment now in UI, I guess. I don't understand it. I get it for like big decisions that like you can't take back. Like, yes, make me hold down the button to make sure I don't accidentally hit something. But when I'm going to a place on the world map, why are you making me hold down X to fill up a bar? I don't get it. But there's also a lot of, we got big cutscenes, and then we're going to have you walk around a little bit while a big spectacle climactic thing happens, and then every 5 steps your main character goes whoa, and then stumbles. I don't need that. Just make it a cutscene. I don't need to play it. I know that they do this because there are people in a fucking lab somewhere analyzing people's brains and doing ridiculous surveys that tell you this is the optimal way to engage players, is to make them feel like they're playing a game and pressing buttons and doing things, even though it's just a cutscene you're playing through. Just give me a cutscene. It would be faster.
Do you know what game did walk through a cutscene while it's happening really well?
What?
Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah. This is doing the modern AAA video game. Goddamn, we animated the fuck out of this sequence and we're gonna show it to you, and it's just like you could have cut this down by just showing it to me as an actual like in-engine video. I don't need to play through this. That being said, when the gameplay starts and you get full access to the combat system, I fucking dug in. I felt right at home. This game is bananas. They decided to make a Final Fantasy game where you play as a guy who will inevitably get all of the core powers of all 3 of the Devil May Cry 5 protagonists in one guy. It's ridiculous.
I hope I can one day play this game, because damn.
Yeah, the main thing I took away from this thing, because, it was early slice of game plus then later slice of game, that it's like, I don't really know, I haven't acquired these abilities, and so I like one by one, so I don't really know what I'm doing. But the one thing I took away was they weren't kidding about the Game of Thrones influence. You just play as a Jon Snow knockoff.
Yeah.
It's really funny. It's like, go ahead.
To be fair, most of the Evilist games were also inspired by Game of Thrones as early as the 90s, so it does track
I have
a
not
bit.
considered this.
There is, so from what I recall, it's partially, I remember reading a thing, and I could need to double check this, but I remember reading a thing that Matsuno himself wasn't so much inspired by it as so much the localization team was reading that stuff at the time.
I know the localization was definitely inspired by like Martin's works. It wouldn't be surprising if Matsuno like engaged them, but he's probably also just in a similar space, and so it made sense to localizers to like carry some of that forward into the localization.
Absolutely.
But it also does track that like if you're into Evilise, you're going to be inspired by Game of Thrones to some degree anyway.
The thing that I saw that apparently, because people were saying this too, and I mean even I was in this camp where it's like I felt that a lot of the Game of Thrones stuff that was shown in the pre-release stuff or comparisons were being a little overstated, and I was like, hey, I feel like people are missing out on what has already been shown as a clear influence, which is all the Evilly stuff. But then it apparently came out that someone involved with 16's production said that they were giving out Blu-ray sets of Game of Thrones like in the studio for people to watch while they made the game.
That's so funny to do. That's so funny to do for a game releasing in 2023.
Honestly, yes.
Good news for the ending of Final Fantasy XVI.
But I thought it was funny when I got a little dog and I was the son that was not approved of by his mother. And I was the older one, and I had like a younger brother who is like special, has some sort of special power and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see, I understand.
Well, I think you'd find, Red, that boy will not become... I guess I can't spoil both 16's prologue and Game of Thrones ending, but...
No.
Yeah. But,
yeah, so the thing that I'm doing is I'm playing through Dragon's Dogma right now, so I don't know that I'm going to pick this up when it comes out. I might, because is there going to be a PC release at some point, I believe?
I think they have like a
16?
year's worth of exclusivity.
Alright, a year from now, I'm happy. I'm happy to wait for a year, play it on PC, because I will not be playing another action game on PS5 controller for an extended amount of time. I'm not doing that. Elden Ring was my last one. I was like, nah, you know what, I'm alright.
This is your arc with the PS5 controller is so funny to me, because like the PS5 controller might be the controller I'm the most comfortable using.
It hates my hands. It tries to kill me every time I pick it up.
Damn. It's because you gotta turn the motors off.
God.
They resist you.
They resist me.
And also kill the battery life. Yeah, I had a good time with this. It is somewhat shameless in how influenced by Devil May Cry it is, but also like, you know, I fucking love Devil May Cry, so I didn't mind too much. Like when you activate the Garuda powers, you just get the Devil Bringer from Nero. Your dog is just doing stuff that V's like Panther could do. It's just all there. You got enemy step. I'm curious what the rest of those powers look like. Oh yeah, Titan's block is just kind of Royal Guard. I do think it's cool that they're leaning so hard into the summon stuff, and there's definitely a lot of kaiju influence there. Those fights are kind of just whatever to me. They're big set piece battles that honestly, it's Asura's Wrath. That's what it is.
I was like, I've heard people talk up Asura's Wrath. I think that might be insulting to Asura's Wrath. I was like, this is fucking 5 minutes of holding down triangle for shooting fireballs at this guy, and I'm like, I think this needs some work.
I feel like they would be fine if they were shorter. That
Yes.
Ifrit Phoenix fight goes on too long.
Needs to be as long as an Ultraman kaiju fight.
Oh, you know what? Yes. It needs to be, well, you know, the shorter ones.
I think Clive needs a color timer.
Oh, I got some color timer lore for y'all when we get into the production history of this episode.
Oh, shit. Oh, nice.
Yeah, like, I will say, I am fairly interested in seeing where the story goes, especially when you get to the end of the demo and you kind of see, like, oh, what exactly went down here. The situation around Ifrit is ambiguous enough that I have some theories that I'm curious what they do with the actual game. That felt the most JRPG-ass thing out of that entire game that otherwise felt like a lot more traditional fantasy. Suddenly, there's a big second fire icon being summoned, and a guy right before being incinerated says, that shouldn't be possible. And a lot of questions about who that is.
I don't have many questions. I think I know who that is.
I think I know who it is too, and I want to know the logistics of how all of that work. I will say too, my other big thing, aside from really liking the combat in this game, I am so fucking happy that we are back to JRPGs having an abstracted world map with disparate locations that are slices of areas, and we don't have everything in one giant world that paradoxically makes everything feel smaller than what old games used to do.
I saw you talking about this like months ago on Twitter. I tuned into your stream and you were talking about it. You're so happy about this map.
I listen, I will go to my grave talking about how we need to bring back abstracted world maps because SMT5 is 4 big rooms. That game's world is 4 big rooms. I hate it. The Vortex world in Nocturne and SMT4 Tokyo, the fact that you go around a big world map and you become a little cursor, it makes it feel much more bigger and alive than, like, fucking 15 is some dude's backyard. I'm sorry. I hope that other games learn from this and we are back to the PS2 era of world design. I really want this for myself.
Yeah. Well, that's Final Fantasy 16, with some dunks on SMT5 in the middle of it because, you know, we had to.
Because Razen's here.
Yeah.
One day I'll finish that game.
I am not going to play that game. I think I've decided. I've like every time I see it, I heard it just doesn't really have dungeons. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
It is an okay capital O video game.
Damn.
I think your time is better spent elsewhere.
Yeah, it's a long one as well. Mal, what you been up to?
To be honest, I haven't really finished. Well, I'm okay. So I finished Dunbine this week.
I also finished Dunbine this week. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good too. I feel like
it's a good time.
I do feel like in like the first 2/3 more than the last third. As crazy as the transition
like Bison well.
Yeah. Like, okay, so spoilers for Dunbine.
You know what? I don't know. Do we do spoiler talk for Dunbine? I'll signpost it. I'll put in a spoiler warning with a timer. Don't worry. So spoilers for Dunbine. Dunbine spoilers end at about 46 minutes.
Yeah. So I think it is very cool having an isekai where, like, you do just go back to the real world and it has, like, consequences. But on the other hand, Bison Well is cool. And that is, like, where all the interesting stuff was.
The first trip to Earth was maybe the coolest thing that's ever happened in anime.
It's very good.
I'm like, and the return is also excellent. And then these initial steps of the first trip to Earth, of the second trip to Earth, are fantastic. Show telling Cham what sunrise is and asking her to look at it with him because it might be the last sunrise he ever sees. I was like, this anime is incredible.
It is Todd Guinness saying mommy is the best.
Yes. stealing, getting home for the first time in forever and just going, mommy, and then stealing salami from the fridge.
I have to say, I don't feel like I have a lot of strong Dunbine opinions other than overall I like the show quite a bit, but I will say Todd and Shot Weapon may be two of my favorite Tomino guys.
Shot Weapon is a little bastard. I like him.
Red, it's okay. He's from Australia.
He's from Australia. He's from California. He got sent to Australia because of what? Tomino, what's going on? It's not a prison anymore.
Some might argue it's a prison house of nations, but anyway.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I basically just like think like the first 2/3 of Dunbine are maybe one of my favorite anime I've ever seen, and then the last third is like, yeah, this is all right. I think it. I sometimes think about the last like 10 episodes of Victory Gundam, where basically like 10 episodes from the end of Victory Gundam, they kick off what they're calling the final fight. And I'm like, well, this isn't the final fight. Obviously, we've got 10 episodes left. No, they're not fucking kidding. This is all fight. This is all final battle for 10 episodes. And it's great. It's so sick. And compared to Dunbine, where it's a lot of fighting in like the home stretch, but it doesn't have the momentum that like the home stretch of Victory Gundam does.
I will say, I've watched Dunbine through twice. One was a while back, and then a few months ago before like the recent run with GGP doing it and covering it week to week. I had watched it, and I decided not to watch it a third time just because it was so like, I had just done so. And I will say, even with that month's time behind me, a lot of that final part blurs together for me in a way where I'm like, I couldn't tell you, except for like the big stuff right at the end with the major deaths. It's hard for me to tell you where specific events fell into place during that final battle arc.
Mm-hmm. And I still haven't listened to the GGP episodes, so I'm just going in fresh thoughts on Dunbine, but I like it.
Yeah. I feel
it's no Ideon for me, but in general, I think I like a lot of his other stuff surrounding that show more, but I still like Dunbine quite a bit.
Yeah, I feel like if more of Dunbine was like the first 2/3, I'd probably put Dunbine over Ideon. Because I feel like
same.
Because I feel like with Ideon, like it's consistently good, but there is like the part in the middle where it is kind of more of the Monster of the Week stuff, like Double 79 is to a degree. But also Be Invoked is like the most unfair buff you can give a show.
Yes, it's a ridiculous movie. I love that interview where he's asked to give a rating on how good he thinks Be Invoked is, and Tomino's like, I don't know, like a 5 out of 10. And I'm like, bro.
You are your own worst critic.
It's so funny.
Like I think Bison Well is like a really nice looking world too. Like I remember when early on in Dunbine, I was thinking, damn, this show just looks really nice, and I feel like I didn't care as much once they got to like Earth, because Earth is Earth. I mean,
Earth's moon isn't a school of fish in the sea that is the sky. Unhinged fantasy world is so good. I fantasy worlds where it is just simply hugely colossally different. Like when you're making a fantasy world, and it is fantastical to the degree where the fairy you bring to Earth looks at the sun and goes, "What's that?" That's perfect. Perfect anime.
It's
sometimes instead of dedicated messengers, you just have guys who run really fast.
Yes.
Yeah. Not much of that on Earth.
Right. I tweeted about this. Hon Wan's fucking chilling back on Bison Well after everyone else goes to Earth. He's just hanging out. He's just like, I had a job, now I don't.
Seeing the like 3 princesses being like, oh, this is like a template for all the girls in Zeta, and I guess any Gundam girl in general, really.
They are mostly template. They are mostly the templates for the girls in Zeta. There is one. there is one girl in Zeta who does not have a. Well, she has a template. It's not in Dunbine. It's in Zarbungle.
Which girl is that?
I can't say that because it kind of spoils the back half of Zarbungle.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like near the end, there's like a lot of the deaths happening that feel kind of like, I feel like echoing some of the sentiment on G2E. Like, damn, some of these characters technically could have died earlier, and it would have like made things a bit tidier. Just because like basically everyone is still standing by like the last 3 episodes, and by the start of the last 3 episodes, I mean, and like all the factions are still there, and it's like you could have like trimmed the cast a bit in the lead up to not have so much like meandering around for 10 episodes and then just do everything in the last 3 and then like
yeah. And what that also does is that gives the preceding episodes momentum, right? Because it gives the sense of the losses, because every week it's like, oh, we lost a lot, oh, we're really damaged. It's like,
because like
you're gonna get up and fight again this week.
Because like one of the deaths that should have been impactful in this one gets undercut by the fact there's like 3 other deaths within the same 10 minutes, and it's like
like
you know,
I mean, I guess
Tomino,
like
go ahead.
Like I mean, do I even want to say? Oh, I guess we don't have to spoil too much about the specific deaths, but like definitely some deaths stood out more than others in the finale, and there are some deaths that should have stood out more, but because there were more other deaths happening, it just kind of like reduced it, and he could have like he could have dealt with B-Shot earlier, to be honest.
It could have. I mean, once again, I'm talking about Victory. Victory's last 10 episodes is a parade of Zanskare guys getting wiped off the board. And it's fantastic.
I was going to say, you know what other show does a pretty good job of balancing out the deaths right towards the end and making them cascade into one another in a very natural way? Double Zeta Gundam.
Which deaths are we thinking about? This is not the show I think about when I think of...
I think of a man blowing himself up for his wife. Right. I think of loser incel man getting shot.
Yes! Oh my God.
It is incredible parade of death.
Is so good.
I mean, I think the final death of Double Zeta is kind of underwhelming.
It is, but the ones leading up to it, pretty fucking good.
Do you ever just willingly cats yourself?
I love how pathetic her death is. I realize it's unpopular to not stan her, but I don't care. I have Katagina loose. I do not need her.
It just reminds me of the one video on YouTube where someone has an AMV of Katagina. It's like the insanity of Katagina, and then the channel name is like All Hail Hamon Karna. I'm like, buddy.
You picked the wrong queen. Stan Katagina loose.
Also,
you know what? I will also say too. I think I wish we had more insect-based mechs.
Yes, I love
Dunbine style.
The Dunbine
so
like I like bug motifs, so of course I like the Zanskar suits, but also the Dunbines. Well, I mean the Aura Battlers, I should say. Dunbine is probably better than the Bilbine, but also I do kind of like the Bilbine, but I do feel like maybe there's a hot take, but I think the garish colors they originally have are better than the really plain colors it has in the last few episodes.
They are. When they switched to the really plain colors, and I was like, I don't know that this was an improvement.
Like, you could argue that, like, oh man, they only had it brightly colored because of toys, but also, I don't know, it's more charming.
You know what? You know what is an improvement, though? Wrecking it and then jumping out of it with a sword.
Yes.
Sick.
It's a shame that Burnings is kind of lame.
I do wish he was cooler. I wish there's, like, he peaks with the, like, Dragon Ball, like, standoff where they make that hole in the sea.
The problem is that he's like a Jared, but Todd is also already the Jared with all the personality traits that makes Jared funny, and then Burn is just
and also Burn starts like successful and respected in a way that doesn't work as much. Like, if you're doing the Jared thing, it doesn't feel like it works as well from that angle.
I feel like him falling from grace is cool, and then him just going back to the same spot, but like in a mask, and everyone knows it's him, is kind of ridiculous. And I don't know, he's kind of boring.
Todd Guinness, guy of all time,
classic man.
Yeah.
Shout outs to the TSR writer back in the day when they had to make things for Spelljammer, who just shamelessly stole the Aura Battlers and named them Spirit Warriors.
Oh, yes, I have heard of this. Fantastic.
I am curious about other Bystonwell works, but also that feels like a bit cursed if you're looking at anime.
I need to revisit. Garzy's Wing. I own all of the DVD volume releases now of Wings of Reen. I should watch that.
Yeah, I'm curious about Wings of Reen. I know it's not Tomino technically, but like I am curious about the new Bystonwell OVA, whatever it's called.
Warning for anyone watching that. I think it's the third one of those. Maybe one of the worst in terms of strobing red and blue flashing lights. Like if you have epilepsy, maybe don't watch those.
That's coming from an Ideon fan.
yeah. No, it is like someone posted it on Twitter one time that is like, I don't have problems with these types of scenes. Usually this hurt my eyes, and then I looked at it and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, I do not think that would be able to air on TV today. It is egregiously painful to look at, and like I would not feel comfortable showing that to anyone with epilepsy. So fair warning if that is a thing for you and you're listening to this.
Yeah, the Turbine looks cool. Also, it's less of a factor than I expect. Like, it factors in less than expected, but it's kind of fun seeing Dunbine and comparing it to like Escaflowne and being like, yeah, I see the influence here.
Mm-hmm.
Go
ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, Escaflowne does seem like Kawamori was like, yeah, I'm gonna do a Dunbine thing, but shoujo, which checks out.
Go for it.
Go for it's good. Escaflowne is good. And the one connective tissue between the two, there is like both do care about like the Earth as much as like the other world. Well, not as much, but and two, they aren't like video game logic fantasy worlds, which is all we get.
Yeah, this is the other thing about Dunbine is, the fact it's an isekai makes it better than if it was just normal, right? Like the isekai factors into the show in a way, and I could count on one hand shows that I can think of that are like that. In fact, I did that recently and then tweeted about Tanya the Evil and asked, does anyone remember what the actual premise of Tanya the Evil is? Because I feel like no one does.
Yeah, like the thing I think of, like, most modern isekai is like, it's just what modern fantasy is. Like they don't, it's not enough to just be a fantasy. It has to be like an isekai, except like the isekai only really factors into like the
escape fantasy.
Yeah, I guess like the prologue where like, oh, I got transported and now I'm just in the fantasy world and I guess I'm in it. And I guess I feel like other than like, well, because I got transported, I get a cheat skill. It doesn't matter that much.
You can get cheat skills from being a fantasy hero without getting transported there. You can be a Subaru and you can be cursed by a wizard. Like, fuck off. You don't need to be coming from the real world.
Yeah. Though maybe sometimes being from the real world does just let you be shot weapon in the world.
Yes.
I was just remembering, like, I didn't finish it. I didn't get around to finishing it, but like the one isekai I brought up like way back at the start of the podcast, so with like the girl who gets sent back, who's like in a fantasy world and like doing tech. I'm just like, oh wait, this is shot weapon as a lesbian girl.
oh yes, the one with the long title that you can't remember, but all you need to know is it's the lesbian one.
Yeah. 1010 I think is the short form. But I need to learn Japanese quicker so I can just read Rice Noel books, because that's the only way.
It is like wild how much of Tomino's body of work is Bystonwell stuff when you actually look at it in totality. It's like
as much as Gundam.
Yes, exactly. And he is just not known for that outside of Japan.
And he likes writing books. I don't know if he's good at writing them, but he likes writing books. So like, I feel like it's kind of his passion.
Shout out to friend of the show, Lagrange Press, for translating Victory Gundam novels.
Yeah, I will read those eventually.
Same.
There are some heroes out there doing doing God's work.
Also, I'll share this in the group chat, but one of my favorite Jun Suemi pieces, who is a famous fantasy illustrator who worked on a lot of the Wizardry releases in Japan, did this Dunbine piece that I adore.
Oh.
Oh, shit.
Oh, that's so sick. Yo!
Yeah, he also did a famous Sazabi marching photo or painting that is also sick as fuck. Let me see if I can find it.
You know what is weird, but also I get it, is the fact that like Dunbine is the only bicentennial thing that actually has mechs. Apparently,
is the only what?
Is the only bicentennial thing that actually has mechs in it. I think.
I believe, having watched Garzy's Wing, I believe that's correct.
I believe it was. This is extremely anecdotal evidence. This is such a sick Sazabi.
That is really good.
It's a tiny image though, but that's cool. But I believe it was
a high grade image.
A sponsor. Shut up. I believe it was sponsors saying, "Oh, but we need the toys. Put the robots in it. You're the robot guy. Put the robots in the show."
Tomino, extremely guy who just was forcefully pigeonholed into doing mecha anime until it's like, well, I guess this is all I can do now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I do like his robots, is the problem.
Yeah.
Same.
I do like it when he makes a show with a robot in it. I think he's really good at it. I think he's one of the best at doing it.
Same.
There aren't many people who beat him. All right. Well, unless we have anything more to say about Dunbine.
No.
Oh, go ahead.
No,
okay. Oh, were you gonna?
Oh, I was just, yeah, I also finished Seed Destiny this week.
Do we have to talk about Seed Destiny?
I think we're good.
Yeah, I'll just say, yeah, it's fucking bad.
Yeah,
it's not good. The show's purported ideology and the events that happen on screen are continuously at odds.
It's so funny. I had an argument with someone, I can't remember where, about they were right and I was right, but we were arguing about it about what the ending of Seed Destiny is, because it's an incoherent anime.
Yeah, it is incoherent. And I remember, like, after I finished, we were talking in, like, the Discord server of GGP, where let's talk about, like, how the show accidentally created a scenario where Lacus Klein CIA'd herself into being Queen of Space, and if the show realized this and made it about that, it would be a lot more compelling, but the show is incoherent and doesn't know what it's doing.
Yeah. The magical, mystical ritual that I clearly performed to manage to watch Seed Destiny while not having a miserable time was to deliberately... I figured this out because I've been like, why did I mostly just not have a hellish time when I watched this anime? I've been thinking about this for like 25 weeks. Was one... deliberately put yourself in the shoes of, I'm a Seed fan, and I'm Seed fans hate Seed Destiny, and I'm going to find out why, and then watch the show in like the space of a week, where the amount of stupid happening per minute is acceptable, and for just like entertaining yourself at least, and that was it, because I was just like, I don't understand why Seed fans hate it, like, specifically.
Yeah.
That's the bit that doesn't make sense.
See, the thing for me is that I feel like from the people I knew who liked Seed, they also liked Seed Destiny. I feel like it's more a case from the people I've met and talked to, is that the people that don't like Seed really don't like Destiny.
No, I have met people that thought that Seed was fine, but Seed Destiny was egregious. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's weird to me.
It's weird. Like, I don't know, like, what the fuck is up with Mulaflaga at all? What?
He's just fine. He's chilling.
Shin theoretically is a good protagonist that gets squandered because the show doesn't want him to be the protagonist and wants to say he's wrong even though he's doing all the correct things.
That's so funny.
In any other show, Durandal would actually be evil because of his beliefs, but also even though the show is like, oh no, he's evil, the show also just vindicates his worldview all the time. Absolutely egregious to have in the final battle. Durandal's like, yeah, you really are the ultimate coordinator, Kira Yamato. And Kira's like, no, I'm just a normal guy. And it's like, no, shut the fuck up. You literally are the super genetic genius person.
You said the opposite even in the final battle of the previous show.
It's like, I feel like you could make a good point about like that if it wasn't just the case that Kira Yamato was the ultimate genetic boy who bended the reality wheel.
When you get to the end of the show, and naturally you have to create, one, the Ubermensch, and two, the guy from SMT Nocturne making the world of stillness to oppose him. That's it.
I don't even know what the fuck was up with the final scene where the villain dies and why he dies, and then just what's going on in that scene? I will say
10 out of 10 show.
I will say for the last like stretch of the show, I did kind of just like watch it 2 a week at ×3 speed just to get through it, and I think a lot of it bounced off me, which feels like a bad way to watch any show, but also
a good way to watch Seed Destiny.
Yeah.
Do I respect this show enough? I'm only watching it because of GGP, and I can't.
There's no good way to watch it. But
see, also too, there's so many recaps that like.
Yeah, it is funny. They had like half a recap based around Mir in the last the last 5 episodes of the show. What are you doing,
Mir?
What? The Mir stuff sucks. It could have been cool, just like all the stuff with Shin, but they did squander it as they are wont to do, by being misogynist in all the worst ways.
Yeah.
The only good thing that Sea Destiny has contributed to my life is that if you have Luna Maria set to your comms person in M-Bond, if you get a perfect, she says, "Holy cracker barrels, you did a good job."
Nice.
I do like Luna Maria's casual outfits. That is the best thing in Sea Destiny. It is a shame.
You don't like Mia's casual outfits? You don't like Mia's casual outfits?
Not in the HD version. Too many horny crimes in a HD version. Why the fuck did Lacus hire the Black Tri-Stars for her CIA? What the fuck?
They just hired her.
She
One of them's a woman
to seed
now.
mode in the last episode for no context. She's just what the fuck?
It just means that she understands the world. Probably, I don't know.
It is so criminal that like the last scene of like the final OVA epilogue is just like Shin realizing Kira is the person who killed his parents, and then they shake hands. What the fuck are they doing?
Yeah, well, that's Seed Destiny, folks. You're not getting a spoiler warning for that. You don't want to watch that anime.
Yeah.
This is you're good.
Yeah. It was a relief though. It was weird. Like I finished it, and then like I felt this just feeling of emptiness as I was just like, wow, I really did go through that garbage. And then 30 minutes later, I was like euphoric because I was like, damn, I don't have to think about or touch Sea Destiny ever again. I'm free.
Yeah. Except when it's funny.
Yeah. In fact, I'm starting to think that Sea Destiny was never real, actually.
Oh, yeah. The classic. Sometimes you just have to pretend that something you don't like was an illusion, and so you don't have to think about it. It's very easy. All right. Well, if that's us done, we can talk about Ultraman.
Yeah.
So let me pull up Ultraman. Episode 31 is called Who Goes There? The squad welcomes a returning member, Goto, who is 30 years old and has been working for the SSSP for 20 years. But that can't be right. He would have been 10 years old. Well, when he was 10, Goto traveled to Bolivia with his father who worked for the SSSP. His father died, and Goto was taken on by the Bolivian SSSP branch as an apprentice. Well then, I guess everything is normal here and above board. Right?
This also, if we're going by the thing from the Jamil episode, this would also make sense, because if the SSSP was established by Ishinotani, there had to have been some time that passed for him to, for there to be an SSSP 20 years ago.
Yeah.
If this took place right after Ultra Q, it would make sense.
I mean, this show apparently takes place in the 90s, for now. Also, don't forget, Hoshino was a member of the SSP before going skiing.
He was he was. They just hire kids. It's fine. It's normal.
Yeah. Paris okayed it.
Yeah. Muramatsu attempts to light his pipe, but Goto stares intensely at the lighter and no flame is produced. The same happens when Fuji lights a match. When Fuji escorts Goto to his room, he asks her what the building is made of. And when she responds, reinforced concrete, he says, no, there is a secret alloy built into the walls. Once he is alone in his room, Goto injects himself with something and then takes out a wireless device and starts fiddling with it, making different patterns of lights shining on the top panel. So, no, this guy is not normal. Not at all. The squad feels like this guy has to be suspicious, but they're not sure how. Then Fuji mentions the secret alloy thing, and Muramatsu's like, oh, yo, call Bolivia HQ right now. Nobody should know about that. But calls aren't going through, and the squad receives an urgent request. Strange, oversized plants have sprung up around Tokyo. The squad seek help from a guy called Dr. Ninomiya, who suspects the plants to be Caronia, a vampiric walking plant that there have been reports of in South America. Ninomiya says he learned so much about Caronia from a Dr. Goto. Wait, Goto? Back at base. Back at base, Fuji sneaks into Goto's room and takes photos of the weird wireless device before she is suddenly attacked by Goto, who is totally a plant guy. He barges out of his closet, which is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It was really funny. He looks so goofy.
He is in a suit. For viewers
yes,
at home. He's a big broccoli, lettuce man in a suit.
With,
we don't mean a monster suit. We mean he's both wearing monster suit on his head, but a real suit for a human being. He barges out of his closet, uses some I-beams on Fuji to knock her unconscious. Unclear what happens to Fuji next. She is fine at the end of the episode. I don't know where Goto puts her. She's just somewhere. When the squad returns, they investigate Fuji's disappearance and search Goto's room. Arashi wonders how the wireless device is powered, and Goto says, it's a work in progress, and don't ask questions, as he closes the suitcase that Ide is searching. The least suspicious man in the world. Arashi and Ide escort Goto out to ask him some questions, while Hayata has a better look through the suitcase, and finds a box full of moving plant matter. He takes a sample to Ninomiya. Ninomiya is left alone to run tests and finds that this is indeed Caronia. At this moment, Goto steps into the lab and turns into his plant form and hits Ninomiya with the I-beams. Hayata shows up and chases Goto. Goto turns big and begins wrecking shit while a fleet of planes, flown by plant guys, appears out of nowhere into the plot.
This escalates very fast.
It goes from there is a secret plant thing to there was a secret plant or civilization and they're attacking it right now.
Goto says the plant people have become an advanced civilization in secret. I'm like, okay, and will replace the proud mankind as the dominant species of Earth. Hayata runs such a long way to get out of Arashi's line of sight so that he can transform while Arashi's calling for him. And he Ultraman bursts out from the middle of a building, which is very cool. The rest of the squad engage the planes in the VTOL, but will run out of ammo before they run out of enemies to shoot down. Ultraman bests Goto and kills him with a brand new attack that, unclear what this one does, extremely made up.
Yeah, I was just like, he kills him with something. It's just another beam. It's not the Stasium beam.
Yeah.
It's something.
Anyway, Ultraman then uses the Spatium beam, the real shit, to shoot down the rest of the invading planes. Job done. Back at base, Fuji is alive and well, and the squad figures out the wireless device was for communicating with the plant army, and it could be powered because the plant people generate electricity within themselves. Sure. Arashi says he's managed to burn all the fledgling plants around Tokyo, and Muramatsu reveals himself to be Mr. Fantastic with this next reach. If the plants are weak to fire, then the reason my lighter wasn't working is because the adult plants have the power to telepathically put out fires. Everyone is like, that's so
We're scientists here.
Mystery solved. The end. What the fuck?
That was such a funny way to end the episode because it felt like someone somewhere was like, "Oh fuck, we forgot to write. Oh, we
forgot about the
right
fire."
At the end. Just put it right at the end."
Go ahead.
I was just thinking that, like, this is like 2 episodes stapled together somehow.
I do. So while I do think it's funny that they call these enemies the botanical humans, and I think that that's a good evocative name.
Is that what they call them in the Blu-ray? That's so sick.
Yeah.
Yes. I think the design sucks.
Yeah.
Not a
It
fan.
does.
And I did not think the story was particularly great for this episode. This is kind of one of the more mediocre ones that we've seen, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love this episode because it's a shoddy piece of shit.
It's so stupid. Like, and it's like, it feels like it's like 2 variations of things we've seen before stapled together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've seen the infiltration thing before.
Yeah,
arguably with a plant monster, even. And then we have had the Bolton fleet. So.
Yes, this is rehashing old territory, but worse for some reason.
Also, it is funny that, like, the gang is like, "Oh man, a vampire plant? That's crazy," as if Duran didn't happen in Ultra Q.
Yeah, we've had weird plants.
Yeah, like, the show has established, and will again, that Ultra Q has happened. And so it does feel weird to be like, "Oh man, we have never found a plant that sucks blood ever."
Yeah, it's very funny that every week everyone at the SSSP forgets that they exist in Ultraman and thinks that they exist in the real world. But it's, you know, we've had a couple of episodes now where, like you say, it has felt like more than one episode just like very hastily rammed together. Like the bus episode from last week was not a bus episode. It was not about the weird incidents where buses are falling off roads. It was not about that suspicious woman turning out to be suspicious. She was just normal. She was just on her way to a different episode.
No, the episode was about Dadas. Happy Father's Day, everyone.
Yeah, happy Father's Day. This episode has that, and it's like I don't know what's going on the production side of things here. It's very strange, but the fact of the matter is, it was terrible, and I really loved it. I had a great time.
Here's hoping that all future bad Ultraman stuff is on this level and not Sea Destiny level.
Yeah. We can only hope.
I can't imagine a world where we get the Ultraman equivalent to whatever the fuck Sea Destiny is, and I hope we never get to it.
I'm curious if we ever... I'm curious how far Ultraman attempts to reach in terms of having capital T themes.
I assume beyond... far at some point.
It's gotta. It's run on long enough that I'm sure there's gotta be at least one that does.
Yeah, I feel like there's gonna be attempts at themes in general, like even like I feel like there's attempts to themes in this show. Attempts, I say.
Yeah, like we already have foundations
for
that stuff.
And like I guess we'll see how that evolves as the franchise goes.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because, hey, it's a long one. They're going to question their legacy at some point, as all Forever franchises do.
I can't wait for the original Ultraman to be brought before the Hague, face trial for his crimes against the Boltons.
When we get to post 9/11 Ultraman,
don't say
the
that.
real shit.
the first post 9/11 Ultraman, I think it's Ultraman Cosmos.
Is that one that people like?
It's the longest one. I think it's well liked.
It's the longest one.
Yeah, it's like 60 episodes.
Oh, okay. That's a weird length.
It's
for a
more
TV
than 60
show.
episodes, but yeah, it's weird for how long it is.
Okay.
But yeah, I think people like it. I don't know if it's like the most popular one, but it is like liked.
All right.
It's in that Heisei early Heisei era where they're just being weird with whatever Ultraman is. But it's one of the ones I haven't seen, so you know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to talk about this episode anymore. I can tell.
No. I don't have anything more to say because it's a lot of just goofy shit.
It was directed by Yuzo Higuchi and written under his pen name Taro Kaido. The same thing happened with the Poison Gas Monster episode, and he also did the Woo episode from Last Batch as well. And the Terror on Route 87 episode.
I feel like the thing I remember from the Poison Gas episode is the birds and nothing else.
Same.
The birds are the most important bit.
Fuji getting robbed of any agency as Hoshino solves the problem.
Yeah,
that's that one too.
It's so funny how they ruined Fuji's character to make Hoshino more of a character, and he just stops being in the show.
And then he went skiing. We have Damn. It sucks to be Fuji.
Do we have a color timer for this episode?
We're doing that at the end.
Oh, we do them at the end of the... Yeah, we do them at the
end.
Oh,
shit, that's right.
You forgot the format.
Foiled! I forgot the format.
Foiled by the format. Damn. Alright. Episode 32 is called The Endless Counterattack. The squad are currently competing. My phone, I swear to fucking God.
I mean, you gotta meet to compete.
Yeah, you gotta meet to compete.
Yeah, it's called the track meet for a reason.
Fuck off. The squad are currently meeting... The squad are currently competing for the opportunity to escort Patty from the Indian SSSP branch. She's on vacation in Japan and could use a guide while she's here. Hayata bundles 4 sticks and says that one of them has a star on the bottom. Whoever gets the star wins. And Fuji picks first, no star. Ide picks next, no star. Arashi picks next and fumbles the 50-50, no star. Hayata wins by default and walks out the door, handing the last stick to Arashi as he goes. On closer inspection, none of the sticks have a star on them. Muramatsu, who has been sitting in the corner this whole time, starts laughing and yells, "Owned."
This is the most, high schooler shit. It's like, I'm happy these are the people protecting us from the evil monsters.
It's so funny.
I'm glad that, I feel like this is the most personality we've gotten out of Hayata at all.
Yeah, actually, you're not wrong.
This is my notes on the next bit as well. Hayata and Patty are out seeing the sights and get caught in a loop of offering prayers to a statue where Hayata is done, but raises his head, but sees Patty is still praying and dips his head again. And then Patty does the exact same thing. What happened? Why is Hayata cute this episode? What's going on? Very strange. Anyway, mysterious, seemingly spontaneous fires break out, and Ide and Arashi launch the VTOL to put them out. Hayata and Patty are called in to help. So much for the vacation. Ide and Arashi put out the fires, and Hayata and Patty find that a nearby river is boiling. Could a spring have opened? They get hit by an earthquake and have to go to great lengths to get the car moving again. More fires at Oniyama. Hayata and Patty are on the scene, and Patty reports back to HQ that she sees a kaiju. Time to go into action for real. The squad heads out in the VTOL while Hayata and Patty shoot Zanbola, the flame monster, from the ground. Zambola fights back, and Patty is knocked unconscious. Hayata escapes with the unconscious Patty in the car, and when she comes around, he urges her to return to HQ while he stays to keep an eye on Zambola.
I just want to say that like having someone who is like slipping in and out of consciousness to drive themselves to HQ is not very smart.
Yeah, normal, just fine. Hayata then once again runs such a long way
I think that's
to
my
go
favorite.
to go transform.
I think it's my favorite bit of recent episodes where it's just like egregiously running super far away. It's like, what are you doing?
Like he looks around for cover, goes, "Oh, there's no cover. I just have to run a really long way away." It's so good.
It's very good.
But having run a really long way away, up some steps, he gets ready to hit the button, and Patty arrives behind him and says, "I'm in the SSSP too." She won't abandon him, which is a problem. Now, I'm going to say here that all of the action so far that I've described is interspersed with very extended, like padded scenes of like the VTOL attacking Zambola, SDF tanks driving through the forest and then getting owned by Zambola's fire. A lot of padding. I say this.
Someone really wanted to show off their miniature model tank collection this episode.
Yes.
They were so fucking proud they painted those minis.
It's a, special effects fantasy show.
Yeah. But I say this now because I want to add this gap here between Patty saying that I'm in the SSSP too, because I want to replicate the fakest tension in the world as we cut away from Patty saying she's going to stick with Hayata, and now he can't transform, and then we cut back, and she has fainted again. And Hayata wakes her up and is like, "You really got to see a doctor. Please just leave." And she just does. She just leaves. I'd say they ran out of episode, but they clearly did not. Those tanks drive through the forest for a fucking age. Anyway, Hayata transforms. Ultraman kills Zambola. He briefly has problems once again with the tail. He hates tail attacks so much. I think he thinks it's cheating. He's like every time. It's a problem.
The sun was in his eyes.
Exactly. The squad returns home, and they note it's sad that Tokyo's intrusion on nature has created pitiable monsters that they definitely, always, 100% have to kill. Every time. Fuji says it'll be nice for Patty to get back to her vacation. And Patty says she's already checked off the 3 biggest tourist attractions in Japan: earthquakes, kaiju, and Ultraman. The end.
It's
That was a fantastic closer.
Yeah.
This, like I said, a lot of padding this episode, but it's fine.
Should have called her
it's all right.
Patty instead of Patty. That was terrible.
Yeah, that was terrible.
I also
will not be forgiven.
I also had the similar reaction of the last few episodes. I feel with like we noted this too with the other tail, the roly poly fucking dinosaur dragon
Gamora?
thing with the underground.
The gold or whatever, Goldon,
something like that. Yeah,
it's golden but with an O.
It feels like they're stretching for a lot of these now, which is weird because the rest of the show has not been like this. I feel, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be that they're just fucking running out because it's expensive and
it is.
It's a lot of work.
I think the light up effect on the monster with the little red lights that are within the suit shining through looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think the monster design overall is pretty neat, and the fight's all right, I guess. But yeah, just a lot of filler this episode compared to actual stuff of substance.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it more than the last one. I'll give it that.
Yeah. They did immediately brought in new woman, immediately had her start fainting. It was very funny.
Yeah, I will say,
in a grim way.
It sure is nice to hire an actual South Asian actress to play a South Asian role. Imagine if you did that for the Middle Eastern episode.
But yeah, that's it wouldn't be a 60s show without some just like incredible racism. So yeah, I don't really have much else to say about this episode. Kind of unremarkable. Is there anything remarkable on the production side of this? Because I know you have teased that there is something. And it wasn't
was
last
this the
episode.
one the notes for?
Yes.
Okay.
So this was directed by a newcomer, Toshitsugu Suzuki.
Okay.
He got his start in the industry as an actor after dropping out of university. He appeared in minor roles across many movies. Notably, I saw he was in the first 2 Godzilla movies and then also Rodan. I think in the first Godzilla, he's one of the newspaper room dudes.
Okay.
That's the whole thing throughout his acting career is he is correspondent, guy in the background, fisherman, all of that stuff. Never really got to break through into being a starring role. His career kind of started to fall apart after a few years just because he couldn't really find big roles. He only got minor work. Fortunately, though, because he had been involved with so many different movies and TV shows and stuff, he did have connections in the industry, including a professional relationship with the assistant director of Godzilla Raids Again, A.G. Iwaki. This will be the first of many side tangents I go on in our production history for this batch of episodes. So, here's my A.G. Iwaki side tangent. Iwaki was a kamikaze pilot in World War II.
Oh,
Obviously, he did not go out.
Wasn't a very... Yeah.
It is my suspicion, reading what little information is available about this man, this might be the guy that is part of the reason why there is so much focus on aerial combat and dogfighting in that movie, and possibly the broader kaiju genre as a whole.
Oh, okay.
I know that also, I think it was the dude involved with the Walrus episode of Ultra Q was a big plane guy too.
yeah.
Yes.
So there's
also,
a lot of...
Also remember, there is a Japanese pilot who does do a suicide run on Pegula.
Yes.
In
So
Ultra Q. So
the
influence is here.
Yes, there is a lot of people involved with like World War II, like Japanese aerial combat, working on kaiju stuff, which is fucking weird, but you know,
I mean,
it had its influence.
I guess considering Eiji Tsuburai's past career, we can't.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
This is something that happened 20 years earlier, so it's gonna be extending its tendrils across a lot of people's careers, probably.
Mm-hmm.
True. And you know, it was an honest to God total war. People's lives are going to be involved.
Yeah. I mean, that was a wild jump from for who that guy is.
Back to that's enough about Eiji Ikawa, the assistant director on Godzilla Raids Again, which again I cannot reiterate enough. Boring fucking movie.
If you want to see Osaka get destroyed, go see Eric Moore episodes.
So back to our friend here, Toshitsugu Suzuki, episode director. Suzuki then found success working as an assistant director, so, you know, credit where credit's due. Iwaki did help this guy out after his career kind of fell apart in acting. So he was back on his feet. He eventually befriended someone else who we've talked about, Kazuho Mitsuda, who is a director that we discussed before, and I forgot to write down what exactly he worked on, but let me flip through the books until I see his name. He worked on Ultraman early on, doing the he did The Rascal from Outer Space. How could we forget?
Oh, sick.
That rascal.
And also, yes, that's actually the only credit he seems to have in Ultraman, but then he also did some Ultra Q stuff, which again I'm gonna quickly flip through. Yes, Blazing Glory. Yes, that is it. So
shit.
This is okay, this reminds me. So if you remember, this is the guy who did the weird alien episode with the sea monster because Hajime Tsuburaya was busy that day. Or, like, there was a logistics thing, and they're like, oh, fuck, we need one of the assistant director people to just actually direct the episode.
He did the Boss Thing episode?
The episode... Yeah, the Boss Thing episode.
Yeah, Boss Thing, not Barong.
Yeah.
That's an SMT demon. And, real mythological creature. But he did the Boss Thing episode, and if you remember, because he did such great work in those circumstances, they invited him on to come up with the initial Ultraman premise.
And he just did the alien Among Us.
Yes, he kind of revisited that idea for the creation of Ultraman.
So you're telling me he's the father of Bemular?
Yeah.
Apparently. At least the vague concept of Bemular. So, history is like poetry, it rhymes, as George Lucas famously said. Similar to how Mitsuda became more prominently involved in the original concept for Ultraman, Suzuki's work on going from assistant director on Ultra stuff to actual director impressed Eiji Tsuburaya so much that they then asked him to take on a larger role with developing the concept for Ultra 7.
Oh shit. Okay.
So there is a recurring thing throughout at least these 3 shows of assistant directors being forced because of the conditions to step up, take on larger actual directorial work. I don't want to say actual, that sounds bad. Assistant directing work is real directing work, but, more prominent primary directorial work. Which I can only imagine is a lot more stressful and hard to do and all that. And their work being recognized and then being asked to work on the next thing from the get-go as part of the planning stages, which is honestly pretty cool to see. Like, they're recognizing the talent that they have and the hard work these people are putting in.
Yeah.
Suzuki was known for being kind and easy to work with. Even when he had narrative disagreements with the screenwriter that he was working on for the episode, he would never push to make changes or go off script while filming. No names were named, but apparently some of the other Ultra Series episode directors would make changes while directing if they had disagreements with the script.
I am wondering if Hajime Tsuburaya did this, because I did make a point of mentioning before how he, even with people he got along with well, would make, his own criticism or changes, I guess, input.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I would not be surprised if that's the case.
Especially because he's the chosen heir.
He's Nepo baby tyrant.
It's hard to say no to Hajime Tsuburaya. So, yeah, he would never make changes, but he would voice his opinion. He would be like, hey, I don't agree with this. I didn't look too much into it because, obviously, spoilers. There is apparently an ending to an Ultra 7 episode that he very heavily disagreed with, but he directed it anyways.
Okay. We will find out about it in the future.
Yes.
2 more weeks of Ultraman, by the way.
Another fun side tangent to go on. This is another anecdote about Suzuki being incredibly kind. Do you all remember from the train episode of Ultra Q, the kid that was involved with that, who was like the shoe cleaner kid? He did the shoe shining.
For a second, I was thinking
snuck
of
onto
the
the train.
But yes.
Oh, the M1.
M1.
Yes,
M1.
Sorry.
Yes.
When you said train episode.
Oh yes, there are two train episodes.
Yeah, I also thought that.
No, the M1 episode, the kid who is doing the shoe shining stuff and then sneaks onto the train, all that stuff. So that child actor is more important than any of us realized. His name is Tetsuo Yamamura. He apparently, that was his first time working on a tokusatsu thing. He fell in love with the train model that they made for that episode and the design of the M1 suit. And
Did they give him the model?
I don't know.
Okay.
But it was important enough to him that he decided this is what he wants to do for the rest of his life. He would be involved as both a child actor and eventually a suit actor on later Ultra productions, including Ultraman.
Yo, that's sick.
Apparently, at some point during the filming of one of the series, no one can apparently agree on which one, but there is a point where he had a argument Some say creative differences, some just say it was like a more broader, like general argument with the production staff. And apparently Suzuki was the one who called him personally, and they sorted it out, and Tetsuo Yamamura came back on. But he threatened to walk until he talked him down. And that's what I have on the director for this episode. Overall seems like a cool, hardworking dude that eventually his vision of Ultra stuff is going to be more integral to what Ultra 7 would be.
Okay.
He also, I should say, he directed the next episode as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So maybe not this one so much, but the next episode we'll talk about, I'm sure some of his influence will... Some of the next episode we'll probably see flavor of in Ultra 7, I have to guess.
That's... yes. Perfect.
Now, the writer for this is Keisuke Fujikawa, who also wrote, let me double check, he wrote some other Ultraman episodes as well, such as the Undersea Science Center, the episode where Fuji gets to be cool.
Oh, that's a cool episode.
Please come back.
And also the Passport to
Fuji,
Infinity.
please return. The Passport to Infinity. Which one's the Passport to Infinity?
Weird reality warping heart.
Oh, yeah, fuck.
Oh,
shit, yeah.
that's so cool.
Okay, so this guy's a good writer.
Hey, let's add even more to that praise, because he also wrote Cry of the Mummy.
Oh, man.
And also The Secret of Miraganda, the first plant monster that Ultraman faced.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, good writer. Holy shit, you will not believe where this one goes. So, he is a veteran of Japanese fiction writing. He is well known as a member of the Japan Writers Association, the Japan Screenwriters Association, and the Japan Pen Club. All of these are special interest groups dedicated to supporting writers, their craft, and their treatment in various industries. His career can be broken down into three major eras. In the 60s to the mid-70s, Fujikawa primarily worked on live-action TV and tokusatsu. In the later half of the 70s to the early part of the 80s, he worked on anime. And from the mid-80s on, he primarily wrote novels. He started as the son of a successful soba restaurant owner and had dreamed of becoming a professional writer ever since he was in high school. He attended Keio University, where he joined the Broadcasting Research Group and achieved notoriety there after he won the Best Screenplay Award from the Kanto Radio Drama All Japan Contest 3 years in a row.
What the fuck?
Nice.
We are about to go on a very long tangent to talking about another guy, who we should have talked about in Ultra Q, but I do not blame us for not knowing about, because it was a real sidewinder discovering this man. So it was at the Broadcasting Research Group where Fujikawa met Shoji Otomo. Shoji Otomo is a very important figure in the Japanese science fiction landscape, and he has often been referred to in modern retrospectives as the first otaku. Whew, it is here where I discovered Mr. Otomo technically has a co-writer credit on an episode of Ultra Q. Sometimes he is not credited on that episode of Ultra Q. I have suspicions why that is. We will discover why. If you're wondering which episode of Ultra Q, it is the Ragon episode.
Okay.
Specifically, this credit is often left out of English versions of credits for the episode, including the booklet. I have it right here. He is not credited in the booklet as a co-writer of that episode at all. Hiroyasu Yamaura and Samaji Nonagase are listed, but not our friend here, Shoji Otomo. Now,
why is that?
It's a whole story.
Okay.
So, this is the point where I decide to investigate further, because I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? We're going to put a pin in Mr. Fujikawa so I can talk about this guy.
Oh my god, the tension. Okay.
Shoji Otomo was a Japanese magazine writer, editor, translator, film critic, and science fiction enthusiast, among many other things. Despite not creating much in terms of his own fiction outside of some doujinshi that seems to be hard to find and rare and never really took off, his enthusiasm for science fiction work and his willingness to promote the genre and take it seriously, despite much of it being made for children, helped create the shape of fandom to come for science fiction in Japan. This guy was the original fucking, like, YouTuber slash, like, fan wiki guy. It was my takeaway from learning about him. As tokusatsu and anime took off in Japan, Otomo had a front row seat due to his heavy involvement in the magazine industry. He played an influential role in highlighting the merits of these programs and their storytelling, and played an important role in introducing Western fiction in many of its forms to the Japanese public. Two notes in particular I saw is that he rose awareness of the work of Edgar Allan Poe in Japan, and is often credited for writing the very first Japanese article breaking down what Star Trek was.
Damn.
He grew up in Mexico, and he has stated that his experience encountering the Aztec pyramids, statues, and ruins led to him falling in love with what he called, quote-unquote, the weird and heretical things of the world. Like, just him encountering these ruins as a child, like, altered his life and his worldview in a way that inspired him to get into exploring, like, things like science fiction. It felt otherworldly to him as a young Japanese boy in Mexico. There's a lot of blank space here, but the TLDR is that he was back in Japan by the time World War II erupted. Apparently somewhere around there he had to evacuate his hometown because it was on fire. Later went on after the war to attend Keio University, where he was, again, involved with many creative groups, such as the radio drama, like, broadcasting thing that the writer for this Ultraman episode was involved in. But in particular, he mostly was known for being a part of the Mystery Novel Club. A fellow student who was also part of the club later noted that Otomo didn't actually care all that much about mystery novels, but he liked the company, and he felt a kindred spirit with fans of mystery and horror genre, and he felt that there was some overlap between his love of science fiction and quote-unquote heretical things with the type of people that were drawn to mystery and horror fiction. Which I can kind of get. Yeah.
Can a Metroid girl and a Castlevania girl make it work?
It was at this time that he started to develop a reputation for being a bit of a gossip. He knew a shocking amount about all of the student writer's personal ongoings, and people have stated this was probably where he developed the skills and connections that he needed to do well in, like, the press and magazine industry. He was a nosy motherfucker.
Oh no, this guy's a dirtbag. Okay.
After graduating, he hit the ground sprinting. He started writing a wide variety of columns for a ton of magazines, would regularly do interviews with influential figures like movie makers, actors, things like that, made a ton of industry connections. Everyone knew who this dude was. He also became incredibly wealthy due to a series of good stock investments. The way that...
off. Sorry.
The way that this was phrased made it... I don't know entirely, because also, too, there's a little... keep in mind, with everything I'm saying with all these recaps, there's a bit of a language gap here. I am trusting a lot on, like, Deep L translation stuff to give you this information. A lot of this could be dubious, but the way that it was phrased every time I looked at something, it sounded like he just got really fucking lucky on the stock market. Like, it wasn't actually, like, him making specific calls. It just seemed like it was a lot of, like, oh, he picked the right ones. He also apparently bought a house that was close to an airport, and he decided, you know, there's a lot of flight attendants that, like, need to stay somewhere overnight between their flights, so he converted part of his house to an apartment, and it was popular with flight attendants to just rent out that part of his house.
Oh, okay.
And pay him to stay
He was the original Airbnb owner.
Kind of, yeah. This dude was involved with a lot of just little random weird things that made him a lot of money. So he made waves in the science fiction scene at the time. Everyone knew who this dude was. So much so that when Tsuburaya Productions was creating a little-known show called Unbalance, which we all know went on to become Ultra Q, he was invited on for the planning stages, as well as the planning stages for several other later Ultra series. I know he was involved at least through Ultra 7. I think also maybe a few more after that. I don't entirely know. But he is the one credited for specifically establishing certain series concepts, such as Ultraman's 3-minute color timer.
Okay.
That's so funny.
Oh my god.
Yeah, again, he has a writing credit some places on episode 20 of Ultra Q, but then, like, nobody ever goes into what exactly he contributed or how that happened. It's very vague entirely why he was involved with that one in particular. It appears that he would often write and publish lore elements about the Ultra series without consulting other Ultra series creators, but then these ideas would be so popular or just so widespread that they would later be adopted into the official setting notes after the fact anyways, including, like, the 3-minute color timer thing.
This is ridiculous. This is how you get this whole anime magazine and, like, this whole magazine scene is where you get, like, a lot of the extremely fake anecdotes about Gundam stuff that Gundam fans are always reciting. So, like, this is learning that this guy just kind of like was posting shit, and, like, if it got popular, it was like, well, I guess it's real now. Is, like, absolutely classic these magazines.
So this divide in particular would prove to be disastrous for everyone involved. Otomo would go on to collaborate with a wide variety of illustrators to create what he called illustrated kaiju guides. These first were published in a variety of magazines. They became so popular that eventually they started to compile them and make books. And then also, I think eventually they just moved on to, when they made new ones, they just made them right away as books. Otomo used his connection to the Ultra series officially and his involvement creating at least the planning and conceptual stuff, along with Tsuburaya Productions, to add credibility to the works that he published, even though they were not technically officially sanctioned. They received an even bigger boost in popularity when the eventual Emperor of Japan, Naruhito, would be seen buying one.
What?
As a child.
What?
Emperor Heisei kaiju fan.
Oh my god. What the fuck?
I have also seen, like, I guess I don't know exactly how this works, but I guess that there is, like, a big imperial, like, library in Japan, like, of like, the Emperor's books and stuff, and people have, like, since speculated, like, that illustrated kaiju guide is probably in there.
Oh my god.
Otomo's enthusiasm for the tokusatsu genre led to him being called the Doctor of Kaiju, which is also sometimes I've seen translated as either Mr. Kaiju or Dr. Kaiju.
So all I'm hearing is that he's the real life Ichinotani.
He's the real life Ichinotani.
Basically.
Oh man.
Also too, so we have talked several times, I want to say, on the podcast, or at least looking this up, I'm sure we've all seen that during the period where Ultra Q, Ultraman, Ultra 7 are airing, kind of known as the kaiju boom in Japan.
Yeah.
Kaiju are back. They're more popular than ever. This was a whole thing for, like, the late 60s, early 70s. His work promoting the genre is heavily attributed to why that was the case. The magazine culture that he helped create was a large factor in why kaiju got so popular at this time.
It does make me curious to, like, actually, when we eventually get to it, just seeing the Godzilla films that are contemporaneous to Ultraman existing.
Yes. I'm now realizing that I have done a poor job in this little summary that I wrote up to discuss what these illustrated kaiju guides are, but I do have a photo that I'm going to send to the group chat, and we should probably include the episode. They look like this. They're like anatomy breakdowns and, like,
what the fuck?
Lore details of all the monsters.
What the fuck is this?
Oh my god.
First of all,
this is the fakest shit in the world.
Yeah.
So, Red, remember last episode when we were talking about, like, the Star Wars visual encyclopedia and, like, there's stuff like that for Thunderbirds?
Yes.
That's exactly what this is.
First of all, what the fuck is that on the far left? That looks hideous. Oh my goodness.
I think that's Garamon.
No.
I don't know. Maybe it's not. No, I don't think it is.
Can I... I can't read that right now.
I have no idea what that's supposed to be.
I hope we never find out, to be honest.
Seeing Kanagon's innards feels like a war crime, by the way.
That is a child?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Kanagon's innards are a child.
Yeah,
So
two out of 4 of these are just people who became kaiju. But Jamila is also in this picture, just so you know.
yeah. So Hajime Tsuburaya fucking hated these books. He believed...
I can imagine. I can fucking imagine.
He believed that revealing the anatomy of these monsters in specific detail took away from the imagination of the work and...
Okay, well, that's
made
not
it...
a normal reason to hate. That's such a... Okay, continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. It is, honestly, it is pretty funny. He thought that it took away from the dreams of children because he wanted them to seem more mysterious, and when you this is the horror movie thing. When you explain how everything works in excruciating detail, the mystery, the fun, the dreamlike quality of it all starts to fade away.
Because this isn't a horror guy. This is a science fiction guy.
Yes. And
Yes,
he
true.
wanted the illusion to be prevalent still. He didn't want things explained. He wanted it to be up to the kids to imagine what was going on with these creatures. This led to a massive argument that ended with Otomo being banned from entering the premises of Tsuburaya Productions and ruined their relationship.
Oh, damn.
Later on in life, they apparently both mutually felt kind of bad about how this all went down. As much as Hajime Tsuburaya did fucking hate this guy and what he did, he also did make the Ultra series very popular with what he was doing, and made these monsters very iconic. Like, he as much as there was a difference of creative vision here, like, Otomo couldn't have done what he had done without Hajime Tsuburaya's creations, and Tsuburaya's creations were made more popular by the, like, half fan, half official work that this guy was doing in his magazines.
No, Hajime, don't let him back in.
I guess-
I'm a hater.
I guess a Metroid girl and a Castlevania girl can't make it work.
Good sign.
Well, they sure as fuck tried, because later on in life, they both attempted to reconcile their relationship by collaborating on what was going to be an illustrated biography celebrating Eiji Tsuburaya's life and work after he had passed. Obviously, Otomo was a huge Eiji Tsuburaya fan, and Hajime Tsuburaya loved his father, and they both said, hey, let's bury the hatchet, let's work together on creating this illustrated biography of a guy who we both really respect and have a mutual love for. Unfortunately, it would not come to be. Otomo suffered from health issues all of his life, and at least from my opinion, looking at this guy was known for being a work fiend, and even saying, like, oh, I think a lot of other people, like, are lazy in terms of just, like, you always got to be doing something.
Oh, okay.
Like, he was that type of
Okay,
person.
so it does make sense he'd get rich on the stocks.
Yeah. He was that OG Sigma grind set guy. It sounds like he had a terrible work-life balance, though. Like, I cannot overstate. I am leaving a lot out of this summary because it was just too much. This dude was involved with clubs, magazines, editing stuff, translating stuff. He was always doing something. He also had, I think it was very severe asthma, but due to a complication with, like, he just had a lot of respiratory illness stuff going on, and he apparently was very open about it and would joke about the fact, like, I'm probably not going to make it to 40. And he was right.
Bro,
because
take a break.
yeah. Because of complications due to, I think it was an asthma medication he was taking, it resulted in a heart attack at age 36, and he passed away. 13 days later, Hajime Tsuburaya would also pass away, leaving their relationship forever unhealed.
That's sad.
Damn.
Yeah. weird fucking guy. I would also like to give credit to a lot of this information. There's a breakdown on Twitter from writer and reporter Matt Alt, who also wrote the book Pure Invention: How Japan Made the Modern World. Someone who has just written a lot in the English world, covering tokusatsu and like kaiju and Japanese filmmaking history. And his thread was a great resource for giving some further context for Otomo.
We could put that thread in the description too.
Absolutely, I can provide you a link after.
This guy sounds like a real piece of work.
Yeah. Again, he is called the first otaku, and I feel like a lot of the connotations, you can feel the roots being planted here.
Damn.
He would say genetic type, new type.
He would say genetic type. I mean, he would continue to talk about Aztec temples as weird and heretical.
Yeah. That's not great.
No.
Damn. Well, okay. That was a hell of a tangent.
So,
what were we
yeah.
talking about?
Back to the original guy who actually wrote this episode.
Back to the writer of this episode, Mr. Fujikawa. When we last left off Mr. Fujikawa, he won a lot of awards back to back as a student writer in college, where he happened to meet this turbo nerd. So after making a name for himself in the industry, still as a student, he graduated. Unfortunately, just kind of graduated at what seemed like the wrong time. Apparently, famously, he met all of the requirements to work at Toho, and they wanted to hire him, but they were just like, we already are kind of full here. We can't take on another writer. Like, we just can't justify it at the time. So they were like, sorry, we love your work, but just we can't hire you right now. There's just not space. There's not any openings for you. And he just could not find work anywhere, which was a massive bummer. This eventually reached a crisis point when his family disowned him for his career choice. They wanted him to carry on the popular soba restaurant business, and he was like, fuck you, I'm a very good writer. I'm going to keep being a writer. And his family both disowned him and then also cut him off financially. Apparently this period of time was such a struggle for him and so dire in terms of just financial security that he almost starved to death. Nobody really makes this parallel, but just I have my suspicion that his experience struggling to find work at this time is why he is now so involved in the modern day with his activities, doing work for writers groups and support groups and making sure that writers are treated well in various industries creatively. Because he lived the worst case scenario, just not being able to feed himself,
would
doing what he
sense.
wanted to do. Yeah. He eventually did find work, though, doing some writing for radio stations. It doesn't seem like he was actually doing, like, radio drama stuff. This seems more like it was, like, ad stuff or just general, like, radio program writing things. Not like, very fancy, like, big, recognizable work. It just kind of just, like, doing general writing stuff for radio shows. However, his life would change when Toshihiro Iijima, a person we have talked about many times before in these production recaps, would say, hey, why don't you hop on over here to Subarai Productions and start working on some of these tokusatsu shows? So he would go on to work on some of the Ultra series, including Ultraman. While working on Ultraman, he met the artist and mechanical designer Toru Narita, who in turn introduced him to a television producer by the name of Yoshinobu Nishizaki, who those two had just been working together on a lot of projects, like that designer producer team. And they got to talking with Mr. Fujikawa, and they said, hey, why don't we pivot you into doing more anime stuff instead of live action, drama, and tokusatsu stuff? This is where he got involved with writing scripts for a little-known show called Space Battleship Yamato.
Oh.
Yeah. This would be a significant turning point in his career, especially during the early parts of his anime writing era. He wrote for many popular anime, including the Moomin adaptation, Mazinger Z, Six God Combination God Mars, Super Electromagnetic Robot Combatler V, and adaptations of Leiji Matsumoto works such as Queen Millennia and Galaxy Express 999. Side tangent, he seems to have quite a few friendships in the manga industry as a whole. I cut out a whole part because I couldn't find like concrete information, but it seems like he was good friends with Go Nagai back in the day. And because he worked on so much Matsumoto stuff, he became kind of close with him. There's some talk about like he worked on a Tezuka adaptation or two, and there's some talk like he kind of had a working relationship with him because of that as well. Heavily involved in the big heavy hitters of manga. He would also go on to make manga of his own. In particular, he wrote a manga titled Wandering Sun, which would receive an anime.
Shit.
Yeah, okay. You know where this is going. This would receive an anime adaptation by Mushi Productions. This show's production was the place where a young Yoshiyuki Tomino would meet Yoshikaze Yasuhiko, both of whom would go on to make Mobile Suit Gundam. Tomino has cited the work of Fujikawa as one of his creative influences when he was a younger man.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so this guy is a big deal.
This is where we get to the part I've been most excited to share with you all. And
This
I
is
think
the
is maybe the...
There's been so much. There's more. Don't
This
you have
is
a
maybe
2-hour
the
time
funniest
limit?
thing I will ever say on this podcast.
Go ahead.
As the 80s began, Fujikawa became disillusioned with the anime industry as it became more reliant on sponsors to get shows made. Notably, he has cited the release and popularity of Super Dimension Fortress Macross as heavily influencing his decision to leave anime script writing.
Yeah, same.
Specifically, he felt that Macross was emblematic of a trend at the time, that the quality of writing was being sacrificed for visual storytelling. He did not like this and decided he would rather write novels instead.
Okay, listen. First 20 episodes of Macross are pretty good, though.
Here's the thing. Man, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not gonna... The bit of Macross that I'm complaining about is not that it looks good. What are you talking about?
Now, if he's talking about Do You Remember Love, that's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll just throw in some controversial opinions. Generally, Do You Remember Love? Haters.
I'm nicer to that movie than most, but I prefer the TV show. And by most, I mean our immediate circle of people that don't like Do You Remember Love. He just overall seemed like he did not like that, like, the sponsorship thing was becoming so important to getting an anime made, and he was like, fuck this. It's not enough about the writing.
Good things,
it's too much about the animation.
Good thing things have changed for the better.
Yeah. Everything's normal now. We fixed it.
Tokusatsu also not merchandise German.
He apparently went on to write a bunch of novels. Many of them were well received and loved. Though occasionally he would return to anime and like TV movie stuff, specifically if it was like a revival of something else he had worked on or been involved with. One of the Ultra Q sequel, like, reboot, remake things he apparently worked on, he had some involvement in. I couldn't find which one, like, just doing a quick glance. Okay. So we'll see which one that is. And then also, some of the Matsumoto anime stuff that was happening, like, in the 2000s, he apparently they asked him to come back on to help out with, and he was more than happy to. That is the entirety of my production stuff for this batch of Ultraman episodes, all condensed down into this one very
I was
mid
gonna say,
episode.
it's very good you didn't have notes for next episode because you have a time limit.
Yeah.
I did get an extension on that, so
Okay,
Okay,
we're
we're
good.
good.
'Cause, yeah, we still haven't gotten to the main event of this episode yet, and
I know, Jesus Christ.
this probably
That's a
this could be like the biggest gap between 2 episode timestamps.
that was so much lore about Ultra Q. I had no idea that there was just. Oh man.
I'm very
That's,
happy with the rabbit hole I went down
Yeah.
going through all this.
it is extremely funny to me that like the sci-fi guy does try to literally dissect what the kaiju are, and then the horror guy's like, no, that's not the point.
Like that's the thing though, is it's so emblematic of what this looks like even now. That divide has always existed since the root of this. I love it. It's ridiculous.
I think this explains a lot about the different conflicting ideas of what Ultraman is too, because like Ultra Q is definitely like inspired by horror anthology, but also just like the Ultra series and especially Ultraman Gen, we are like extremely like this is a sci-fi series, so like there's the two tensions going on there, and like definitely like Ultra Q is more in the horror field than Ultraman is. So
Yeah.
and like it's not that there wouldn't be like episodes here and there that dip back into that field, but I do think like just on account of being a superhero series, Ultraman and the Ultra franchise is more in the science fiction camp as it is right now for most of it.
You know what? I'm increasingly. I realize Hajime clearly nepotism, tyranny, clearly not the most fun guy to work with. But coming around, as we talk about on his whole opposition to this, as I look at this image on the right of the heart, the dissection of the heart, and I'm like, no, it's it's like a weird extra dimensional being.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Why does this heart have like intestines in it? Like what is you can't explain this thing, and
Completely.
that's the whole point is that's
Yeah.
fucking weird.
Yes.
You
Absolutely ridiculous.
don't
Get out of
don't
here.
try
the
to
thing that seems wild to me is that it genuinely seems like to make these illustrated guides he was actively like going into the place where they were making the stuff and like basing it partially off of like concept sketches and like design sketches and stuff. And that's part of the reason why they're like, get the fuck out of here. You're not allowed back in the building,
I mean,
dude.
yeah, that's also
Yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah. When you said that Hajime was mad at this guy, and I was like, well, yeah, obviously. And then you started talking about the ideological opposition to it. Well, I was more thinking of him taking the ideas and just posting them for everyone to see.
Concept art is
Ridiculous.
real, guys.
Yeah. Concept. As we all know, ideas that were talked about but then aren't in the show are realer than things that just are never talked about.
True.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
It's the cutting room floor is less real. Just a message to everyone. The cutting room floor is less real than anything that was just literally never mentioned anywhere. Because it was actively rejected. All right. Well, on that, let's get in now. Now that we know all that, I don't know that I know all that, but maybe I'll know all that once I re-listen to it through.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. Damn.
I think that's the most I've ever written for one of these.
Yes, sometimes the production notes are, yeah, it was these guys again. And sometimes the production notes are you ready for some history?
I wish there was a show so popular that I'm just gonna stop making things.
Mm-hmm.
What a fucking turn. Genuinely one of the funniest things I've ever read in my life.
I feel like
Fucking
I feel like
Macross.
there are other cases of that happening, but this guy getting burned out on Macross is extra funny.
I feel like you also just don't get that with Japanese creators a lot, where they're specifically like, yeah, fuck this particular show. Like, you don't often get that. It's very interesting to me.
It is also funny given like the obvious influences Battlestate Ship-Yamato have on Macross. So
Yes, that is it's very funny, the idea of him watching Macross and being like, "Oh, this is the shit I wrote. Why'd you draw it like that? Doing too much."
He just doesn't appreciate Max Genius, the most divorced man alive.
We should all appreciate the most divorced man. I need to watch Macross 7 urgently. The most divorced man alive. Oh my god.
Speaking of. Okay, I can't. We spent too much time, but I need to finish that. There is a link between Armored Core Project Phantasma and Max Genius.
Well, yes. I mean, besides the Kawamori.
Yeah.
Tell me about this
Same
later
voice
because
actor.
I want to. Okay. Okay.
Same voice actor.
For the antagonist.
Listen.
Yes.
Listen. Shohayami is a good voice actor, even if he is playing Burnings.
That too.
I am Phantasma. Fuck you. Fight
Yes.
me.
Much funnier
Meet
knowing
me.
that was Max Genius.
Meet me outside in the parking lot.
Armored Core is good. Anyway, we should talk about the Mefilas
Talk about
episode.
fucking Mefilas. We should be the most excited for this. Let's get to it.
We are 2 hours in. Episode 33, The Forbidden Words. Hayata and Fuji are out at an air show with a kid who is definitely not Hoshino. This is Fuji's younger brother, Satoru. We are absolutely not filling in for an injured child actor. They're all marveling at the planes, and Satoru hears a strange voice in his head say, "Planes fly. Everyone has seen planes fly. It's not special. Watch this." And everyone watches in horror as an oil tanker flies across the sky and then fucking explodes. All the planes float off towards space, and Hayata bundles Fuji and Satoru into the car, which also proceeds to float away, like it's that Irish vine with the helium balloons. Ide and Arashi are sent to space to investigate the missing planes, and they also find the fucking car. As the squad wonders where their missing members could be, they get a call. Fuji has been found. Muramatsu asks where she is, and the response he gets is like, "Oh, she's on X Street." Now, what kind of response is that? Muramatsu, Ide, and Arashi arrive at the location and run to the front of a horde of cops who are all peering upwards, as though looking at some kind of giant. What are they all looking at? It's giant Fuji time, motherfuckers. We're back.
We did it.
We did it. Despite the squad's pleas, Fuji doesn't hear them. It's as though she is being controlled. But controlled by who? Inside a strange ship, Satoru hears the voice again, accompanied by shining blue eyes in the dark. The light comes on, and it's our fucking boy, Mefilas, and he ain't looking quite so skinny as he did when we saw him. So, Shin Ultraman is a movie that kind of compiles some of the like iconic shit from Ultraman, and Mefilas is iconic.
Yeah, he is
enough to make it into Ultraman. So, spoilers. He's in Shin Ultraman. We warned you. We were going to talk about Shin Ultraman. Mefilas is our boy. He's from Shin Ultraman. And here he is. He tells Satoru that just as humans love the stars, he loves the planet called Earth. Mefilas says he wants Earth, but he is a gentleman and abhors violence, so he will simply ask. So he asks Satoru, "Can I have Earth?" Satoru says, "No." Mefilas admits that it is difficult to give up your homeland, but he shows Satoru the vastness of space and says that, unlike Earth, there are thousands of planets out there without conflict, where you can live in peace for hundreds, even thousands of years. So can I have Earth? And Satoru says no. And Mefilas is like, "Bitch, why?" Because I don't care for wealth or immortality. I am an Earthling and I care about Earth. Mefilas is a little bit put out by this, and he confines Satoru to an anti-gravity prison. He summons Hayata, and Hayata laughs at him like, lol, you couldn't even convince a little kid to betray the Earth. You fucking suck. More like the lion, the bitch, and the wardrobe. Mefilas calls Hayata Ultraman throughout this and asks him whether he is human or alien. And Ultraman / Hayata says both. And before he can transform and end this right here, Mefilas freezes Hayata in place. And he will remain there for several minutes in that pose. Mefilas gives the order for Giant Fuji to attack, and Fuji's actor gets to have fun for the first time and starts to break buildings open. The squad has to stop cops from shooting her, and then she just disappears and is replaced by a giant Boltan, a giant Zarab, and a giant Kemmer?
Yeah, what the fuck?
We're bringing the boys back. Mefilas' voice is heard on Earth, and he says, I don't want to give the order for these monsters to attack. You got a lot of nice things. It'd be a shame if they got broken. He is a gentleman, and he abhors violence. Meanwhile, he puts Fuji...
I just want to say
go
here
ahead.
that Captain's like, hey, you can't scare us with those guys. The SSP beat all of these guys. I'm like, no, you didn't. Kemmer was...
didn't.
Kemmer was...
No, you didn't.
Kemmer,
No, you didn't.
They took care of Kemmer. Don't take credit for this.
God. Meanwhile, he puts Fuji in the anti-gravity prison with Satoru. The squad receives word the radio signals have been tracked to the Takinazawa Mountains, and the SDF begins bombing the fuck out of them. Mefilas' ship is forced out of hiding and shoots down the fighters, but has less luck shooting down the SSSP VTOLs. Mefilas sees the way the wind is blowing and abandons the controls. The squad lands, infiltrates the ship, rescues Fuji and Satoru, but Hayata is frozen still, and they just fucking abandon him. Uramatsu is like, there's no time, because Muramatsu is probably thinking, yeah, he's going to turn into Ultraman. Let's leave him to it. He'll be fine. Hayata topples over as the spaceship rocks from the blast, and when he hits the floor, the button gets pressed. He turns into Ultraman and faces off with Mefilas. Now, up until now, the episode has been okay. It's been kind of wacky, right? But it's not, I wouldn't call it like anywhere near like as good as the Zarab episode. So I'm stuck here wondering, now why is Mefilas so iconic? Then we get to the fight, and I realize just as Vegeta is to Goku, Sasuke is to Naruto, and Pegula is to Jun, Mefilas is to Ultraman. They match each other's attacks, and neither gets the advantage over the other until they have a proper Western quick draw moment, but neither shoots their beam. And Mefilas lowers his arm and says, all right, I think that's enough. We two aliens shouldn't be fighting. I abhor violence. To tell the truth, I wanted the spirit of Earth. I don't know what that means. But I have been beaten today. And just before he fades away, Mefilas assures Ultraman that he'll be back, because if at first you don't succeed, try again. One of my favorite sayings. Hayata makes his appearance and congratulates Satoru on his good nature. Fuji doesn't remember turning big, and everyone finds that really funny. And the narrator implores us to please look after and defend Earth, because it's our Earth. The end. Now, just quickly, before we get into anything else, is Mefilas like a vampire or something? Does he need someone to invite him to rule Earth? Why is he asking this kid if he can have Earth?
I genuinely think it is... So... The broader thing of this, obviously, is that Mefilas, it's a play on Mephistopheles. There's demonic devil imagery stuff going on here. He, like... I think the whole idea is just, like, he wants to show to humanity that they don't necessarily deserve the Earth, and, like, if even one of you are willing to surrender it to me, it shows that your spirit is broken and you're better left under my rule, and that the innocence and pure-heartedness of this child defeats him. And if he doesn't want to take it by force, because he said that bit at the end with him wanting to take the spirit of Earth is him going like, I need the moral victory, or what I feel is the moral victory. I can't just brute force it, even though I probably could.
Which makes him fun. I like him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's good.
He's obviously, I was going to say something, but I figure I want to save that for when we actually get into the Shin Ultraman stuff. But
I mean, we can just get into the Shin Ultraman stuff.
Okay.
I think we can just do that because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
We can't talk about this and not talk about Shin Ultraman. Mefilas is in Shin Ultraman. He's the best bit of Shin Ultraman.
He is.
It's like far and away. It's very easily just like he's the standout guy in Shin Ultraman. So we were excited or apprehensive, something about when Mefilas shows up because we were like, what if he's boring? What if he's not funny? What if he's not like kind of weird and fun? And it turns out he was kind of weird and fun.
Yeah. It's definitely a different type. Like in Shin Ultraman, he definitely has more of that Mark Zuckerberg energy attached to
Oh my fucking god! Yes, he does.
which makes it funny.
This version is far more like classically sinister,
Yeah.
which I think works considering like again they're going for a very clear demonic thing.
Yeah,
here
and
with
like
him.
it is like a different era. You're not going to get the Silicon Valley tech bro guy in 60s Japan media. But like also just like him being like, oh, I'm a gentleman, and just like being like that adds more flavor to him, and I think like works. Like I can see how you get from one to the other.
I would even venture as far as to say I feel like something interesting that I noted with his design, because I was actually kind of shocked at how close it was to the Shin Ultraman one. I feel like you're kind of seeing the roots here of what I would associate with like Kamen Rider villain design. Like it looks kind of sleeker in a way compared to other suits and stuff we've gotten from Ultraman.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is like, you got different kinds of kaiju monsters in the Ultra series, and I feel like by necessity, the ones that are like aliens that turn big are just going to be more humanoid designs, just because you're not like Peter aside, you're not going to just have like a lizard guy walking around in the SSSP building.
Peter aside.
And I think that kind of lends, like, you know, people, kaiju like Red King and Gamora are iconic guys, but they're like iconic in like the way Godzilla or Pokemon or Digimon are, and like I feel like guys like Zarab or Bolton and Mefilas are iconic as like characters in a way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, they're all like mascots to varying degree, but like, you know, obviously it's a difference that matters.
Yeah. The ending with him, because you know I wasn't expecting it to mirror sort of the Shin Kamen Rider ending for Mefilas, where Mefilas just kind of a little different from this. Mefilas spots a bigger threat off in the corner of the screen and literally goes, I'm out.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, this one he's just kind of like,
clearly,
nah, I'm good.
yeah, this one he's like, you've beaten me this time, but like, listen, I'll be back. I'm the devil. You won't get rid of the devil.
It is fun that the Shin Ultraman fight is there also pretty evenly matched, blow for blow.
Yes. Yeah, that's
thinking about the shot where they both
good.
kick each other and like their feet touch for whatever reason.
That sick ass fake like rebuild of Ava track place.
Yes. It's so funny. It's so good. Inventing a new child to replace Hoshino, so unfortunate.
It felt
Yeah.
like if this episode would have been better if Hoshino was here, I think.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like having a random kid for one episode be like the crux around which the Mefilas thing was.
Yeah.
Like
it's an issue.
Like this is in the third block of recordings, and like because you know they did like 13 and 13 and like Hoshino left the show around like the second block, episode 25, but like I have to imagine they were like writing well in advance, and like this just feels like an episode that works better if you know who the kid is before, and like, oh, this is a kid who has an attachment to like Fuji. It's like, well, that makes sense when you consider like Hoshino being like tied to the hip with Fuji in the past. I also think I read that like in like an early US dub for Ultraman. It's not in the Japan media, but like in an early US dub, Hoshino just is Fuji's sister, brother. Excuse me.
Oh,
like that obviously doesn't factor in. It's just like an interesting like coincidence, I think. This is a trivia, but like this episode I think would be more emotionally interesting if like it was actually Hoshino and like a character we knew being like having to. It's not really a dilemma because they're going to make the right choice, but like it is just more interesting just having like a character we care about being asked to make this decision.
In a way, I do feel it adds to it as a biblical, like, I should start by saying I do think it would be better, and it is very obvious to me this is supposed to be Hoshino. I do think the fact it is just some random kid makes it feel more like a biblical parable type thing of just like, oh, this random child, like, there's a weight to just,
had to resist the temptation of the devil.
Yes, exactly. Whereas, like, Hoshino, he knows what's up. He's seen an alien or two in his time. But I do agree. I think there would have been a lot more weight and done a lot for Hoshino as a character if this was his decision.
There is an interesting, weird version that exists in my head where Ide is given this choice immediately after the Jamila episode.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Mefilas has him. Mefilas would have him. Oh god.
I feel like
there's another version where Arashi is taking a drag of his cigarette and he goes, so how many spider shots are on that planet you're offering?
I feel like this episode would be weird if it was like an adult making the decision, but like I feel like it needs to be a kid, but it would be interesting having post Jamila Ide try and have this moral quandary given.
I will say, so there is no way for me to talk about this without sounding like I'm giving like an anime villain motivation backstory speech, but my favorite like folklore thing of all time is the Faust, like the myth of Faust. This idea of being offered this absolute power deal at the cost of your own soul and like an eternal damnation, and the sacrifice that people are willing to, like what people are willing to sacrifice for temporary power and control and agency. It is something that like creatively kind of like I find very influential, and it is an idea that I find crops up time and time again in various forms. Like I would even say like part of my interest in the mecha genre I think goes back to this idea of borrowed power and taking like being provided some sort of like heinous evil power that allows you to enact change on the world, but at what cost, sort of thing.
There's no shortage of mecha like that, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I feel like more often than not, I'm interested in that from the perspective of seeing what it takes, like why someone makes the decision to do that. But also, too, this was kind of a nice classical take on the story where it's just like, oh no, this is someone being offered the contract to write their name in the Devil's Handbook and going, this fucking no. That's a bad idea. I'm not gonna get in the robot. I'm not gonna give up the Earth for an immortal life and new planet.
Looking forward to the Ultraman where becoming the Ultraman is the Faustian bargain. I don't know if that happens. It'd be fun.
So
It'd
cool.
be pretty cool though.
I hope so. That would be nice.
Damn.
We should also talk a bit about Giant Fuji, to be honest.
Giant Fuji is real.
The original giantess.
It is cool that like her actress gets to be giant in a way that Jun and Ippei did.
Yes.
Go watch Ultra Q. That doesn't necessarily mean that this wasn't the director of Shin Ultraman's barely disguised fetish. It still could be.
In Shin Ultraman,
some plausible.
This is
giant office lady. Very clear what's happening.
This is gonna be a dumb question. I don't even know if I should ask.
Just do it.
Oh God, now that you've said that, you have
to. Listen, we've made several jokes about the blowjob shot in episode 1 of Ultraman. We can say
if it's terrible, I'll cut it.
In the late 1960s, were people into giant women in that way? I do not know. I'm sure probably, but
there might be like
someone somewhere.
Someone somewhere.
Probably. Yeah.
It was cool and a surprise.
Kaiju were getting popular, so...
What'd you... Oh.
I mean, kaiju were getting popular. Giant beings were in the consciousness.
This is true. And eventually everyone will always turn something into a weird horny thing, so yeah, that...
This is...
Weird.
Hajime...
I'm sorry.
This is why Hajime Saburai wants to keep the mystery, because... Look at that book. There's nothing horny there.
This is the actual divide. Is sci-fi guys are sci-fi guys are virgins and horror guys are horny.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just it was like a surprise and very cool to see. Like, she is big here. They are doing it.
She is big.
And then he does.
She is big.
Just bring in like all of the previous alien invasion guys. Which is cool.
Yeah. The thing that Shin Ultraman introduces is that like the giant woman is like part of the plot. Like it's a plot point that she's giant.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the
in a way that
military
isn't here.
Military industrial complex plot. Whereas this it's just like
it's a demonstration.
This one's a more demonstration because Mefilas like, look how cool I am. Which is also pretty.
Look at what I can fucking do to you.
He's like,
which I'm not going to because I abhor
like,
violence.
what?
I'm so powerful I can bring back Ultra Q.
Yeah. Kemma makes our old friend.
I was losing my... I watched this batch of episodes with my friend Claire again, and one of the few episodes of Ultra Q she saw was Challenge from the year 2020, and she was like, I'm so fucking happy I was here for the return of Khmer. I'm like, you do not even know how lucky you are.
I think it was rated differently when we did like her kaiju rankings, but I do think Khmer is my favorite Ultra Q kaiju, I think.
Oh, damn.
So I am pleased. I mean, it's just also a really good episode, so that's why, but like...
Yeah.
It did make me happy it's here. Sorry to Garamon and the Cicada Man, you aren't important enough to show up in this line.
Yep. Cicada Man, too small.
He did get fucked by a laser too.
Garamon's too busy grieving the loss of his child. Pigmon.
Yep. They called Garamon. He's like, I'm grieving. I was like, okay, we'll get Kemma. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Just imagining Garamon just with a box of tissues and then the phone rings and he's making his use stupid salad finger hands to flop over to the phone, pick it up.
He gets a call from Mefilas.
Mefilas is like, I'll send you another balloon.
God damn.
So this was obviously same. This was the same director as the last episode, Toshitsugu Suzuki. Something I want to note. So this was written by Tetsuo Kinjo, who we have talked about a lot. Something I noticed. One of the other episodes he had written for Ultraman was Brother from Another Planet. So like at least 2 out of the 3 episodes he wrote were adapted for Shin Ultraman.
That's pretty good.
It's gotta feel pretty good.
Yeah. We'll see if he wrote another one down the road.
I can confirm yes.
Okay.
looking at this booklet.
Okay. Well,
that's really funny.
2 weeks from now, we'll look into that.
Yeah.
That's Can you what?
Okay, I just gotta say, the next batch of episodes, we got one coming up called Don't Shoot Arashi.
I'm always saying this.
Is this I assume this is with a comma.
No, it's Don't Shoot Arashi.
Okay, there we go. I was picturing both versions of the show. One where it was Don't Shoot Arashi / Don't Shoot Arashi. Don't shoot him.
Don't shoot Arashi? No, don't shoot Arashi.
This is why
I'm gonna be real, Ultraman. I think Arashi's gonna shoot. I think he's gonna do it. It's what he was born to do. All right. Well, the thing about this episode is that there's not like a lot to say about it because beyond what we've already said, it's wacky. It's fun. It doesn't quite fully work with having just like random kid out of nowhere, but it does its best. And then the fight is kind of sick. Like it's a lot of them just standing there facing off, and it's kind of understated.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
There's like some cool beams that cancel each other out. They throw each other to the ground a couple times, and it's good.
I will say, on watching it, I absolutely understand how, for kids watching it at the time, the alien just stopping and going, "This is dumb, let's call it here, we don't need to do this," would have been
the
like a
hypest
huge
thing.
Massive impact. Like that would have blown my fucking mind as a kid, I know.
Like just,
good moment.
Just compared to like every other way these end, like for most of the show, like there's been like 2 or 3 occasions where Ultraman like shows mercy and otherwise just like cuts people in half, and there's one where the guy is just like strong enough to be like, nah, I can just leave.
Yeah.
I can just leave.
Bored now. Bye. It's cool. I like Mefilas.
It will be fun if we.
Same.
I don't know if we do, but it would be fun if we get like with the next batch of episodes or the one after, just another Mefilas appearance. But who knows?
They immediately do it. They're like, "I told you I'd be back. I'm back."
Yeah.
Hoshino, you could ski forever. What is... The snow is extra fluffy, you won't break another limb.
Oh my god. Right. Well, unless we have anything more to say about this episode, should we talk about color timers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One more thing. This is not about this episode specifically, but it's more like some trivia we could have noted last week, but didn't. But is especially relevant this week. Episode 30, the episode with Wu, was the first appearance of Type C Ultraman, the last refined suit of Ultraman.
Okay.
And,
I did not notice. I'm gonna be real.
It looks good if you look at this in the episode. You're like, oh yeah, it's a good looking Ultraman suit. But I also, unlike the Type A suit, which is like visibly melting, and so the upgrade to Type B
looks like mashed potatoes a little bit.
Yeah, like the Type B suit is like such a strong, obvious upgrade, and I feel like maybe this one is like still like an upgrade probably if you look them side by side, but like it's not as obvious
like more
unless
understated,
you like
yeah.
look at them directly. Like I don't know. Let's see. Ultraman Type C.
Yeah, if I could see them side by side, maybe I would be able to tell. But I don't.
Yeah,
I did not notice.
Yeah, just because I'm like,
Well, if you had an illustrated guide to kaiju,
Oh fuck! This is how it happens.
I think, honestly, I think I've seen like some stuff where it's like, oh, here's how the biology of Ultra guys work. And I'm like, I don't need to know this. This is like the worst thing you could have done.
Okay, it looks like the Tsuburaya wiki has images of all 3.
Yeah, I have one right here.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I can see it. Yes.
Yeah.
The Type C suit, I guess, has like the wider mouth, and I think that's like what the like modern design looks like.
I can't believe we watched 13 episodes of that first suit.
It's so
fucking look at
so
it.
funny. Like you can just see the difference in like Type A and Type B. The money that Ultraman made
at a glance.
One thing I will note, and I've been meaning to bring it up eventually at some point. I very much enjoy the fact that at least the Type C suit, they made the pupils that he have just like kind of gone, because it always just looks like he's looking down, like he spilled some spaghetti on his shirt, and I kind of fucking hate it.
Yeah, I mean,
it looks dumb.
I mean,
I've never liked that part of the design.
The guy in there does need to see.
I suppose.
Oh my god, he's permanently got a fly has landed on his nose.
Ever since I saw the cover of like the Blu-ray, like way back, even like before this podcast was even a thought in any of our brains, I was always like, why did he look like that?
Unfortunately, now that is all I can see.
Cursed.
This is all I've ever been. I've just watched the show like this. This is all I've ever been able to see.
You've kept it to yourself out of kindness. Your generosity.
I'm gonna be honest. I kind of thought that everyone else also saw this. I did not know that this was like a big thing. Only
I saw it. I saw them,
Okay.
obviously, but I always saw it as, oh, that's where the guy sees through the suit. I had never managed to, in my brain, make the connection of, oh, those kind of look like his pupils.
Well,
he's just always looking down.
This is the funniest
Don't
thing
worry.
I've ever seen in my life.
Our next guy has explicit pupils, so we won't have this misunderstanding.
There we
Shit.
go.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, color timers.
Color timers.
3-minute limit now. We got to keep this in mind. Our boy
That's
Otomo,
definitely
Otomo invented this, and it's now
I
canon.
do think at some point,
It was in a magazine.
I don't know when, but I do think at some point the 3-minute limit, the 3-minute limit is like becomes the thing like within the series rather than just being a vague thing, and that's admittedly part of why I made the color timer thing.
Now, this is the thing. If you lie loud enough, it becomes real.
Damn.
Yeah. Just like the economics discipline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, episode 31, 2 minutes 52 seconds. Episode 32, 2 minutes 5 seconds. Episode 33, 3 minutes 5 seconds.
It's over.
Listen, we've had many over 3 minutes.
One of them was like 4 minutes or 5 minutes, right? Like one of them was long.
We had one last week that was like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The first otaku is coming.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
For
Last
Ultraman.
week, episode
He's sick
28
of
was
this.
like 5 minutes 55 seconds. Literally 6 minutes. Literally double the length.
He's writing.
He filled up on color juice before the fight.
He's writing addendums in his magazines, like, this one was extended because of this XY reason.
So now we know. We keep him honest.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Wow.
I have to go get fishing soon, so we should wrap.
Yeah. you plug first.
It's me, Rosenbrand. You can find me at Rosenbrand. Go watch my Final Fantasy XVI stream. It was honestly a pretty fun time, and we talk. Honestly, I was very happy how many people showed up to chat with me and talk about their feelings on 16, what they liked, what they didn't like. We had some good conversations in there. I think that's a good stream. Go watch it. I will stream the rest of the game.
Nice. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at gender. No, you can't. You can do so at ultra_q. That is at ultra_QUEUE. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at gender_redacted. Mel.
My Twitter is at Dear Crowns. If you want to email the show, we have 2 weeks left. We have 2 episodes left of Ultraman. Send in emails. You can email us at ultraqpod@gmail.com.
Nice. Next week, we are going to watch 3 more episodes. It's episode 34, 35, 36. Let's hope that the home stretch of Ultraman brings us some bangers. I'm looking forward to the end game.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see what they're going to
When all the Ultraman kaiju come out of the portals and the movie theater claps.
Yeah. That's they stole that from a Toku thing, right?
Maybe, probably.
I think they stole that from a Kamen Rider.
Hoshino looks into the sunset. Mefilas says, "Hello, Peter," and then he's like, "I'm Ultraman."
All right, that's the end of the episode. Goodbye.
It is funny that the Mefilas episode is the longest episode we have so far.
Of course it is. Of course it was. It was inevitable. All right. See you next week.
Next week.
Bye.